The following program is rated GE. It is suitable for general family viewing.
Right, a very good evening to you. It's 8 p.m. and this is Body Garage. I'm usually Stanley Nyarungita, standing in for Dr. Chubbs. And today on Body Garage, as you can see, for kids, prepare yourselves because we are talking about this. You know, these are the teeth. I don't know how many you have right now, but we'll be discussing how many teeth you should be having right now, how clean you should be having them. They have just the right mind for this conversation. Dr. Moose, or as he likes to call himself, Moose the dentist.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Right, so first of all, what am I holding?
So this is just a model of teeth, just for demonstration purposes. Your real teeth are not that size. This is a blown up one so that people can picture what we explain to them.
Yeah. They should be 32 for...
Yes, they ideally should be 32, but more and more we are seeing nowadays with evolution and the way times are changing, a lot of people nowadays are not getting the wisdom teeth. So as time goes on, I'm assuming in the next 50, 100 years, people will have 28 teeth. And we're already seeing that in a lot of people nowadays.
So on a light note, maybe people will not be as wise. Anyway, so as we continue, definitely be counting how many of this and just ensuring all that. But so the reason we're really having this conversation is because February is Dental Health Month, and really focusing on even the kids, children under the age of 18, how they, because this is a very important part of their lives. Their teeth are growing as young as they are. First of all, tell us what is dental health?
So dental health essentially just embodies how you take care of your teeth, the preventive measures you take, you know, the maintenance that you do, you know, be it at home or at the dentist, and you know, essentially how you look after the masticatory system. You know, so it's not just dealing with the teeth, right? Masticatory system is the whole system of how you chew and how your mouth functions, right? So we're dealing with the muscles, we're dealing with the jaws, we're dealing with the joints all the way up here, right? So it's a lot of things. It doesn't just deal with the teeth itself.
So essentially it extends even from inside the mouth, extends to other parts of the body? Inside
the mouth all the way out. And by the way, the mouth is the first place that a lot of things are seen. Sometimes there's a lot of undiagnosed diseases which we pick up on, and I've had a lot of patients that I have seen something and I tell them, you know what, speak to your physician and get this test done. And surely after a couple of months they call me back and they say, you know what, doc, you were right, I was actually diagnosed with this thing. Something that is so predominant nowadays, such as diabetes especially, right? A lot of people get diagnosed first by their dentists because we do a small procedure and you know, we realize, for example, the healing is really slow. This doesn't look normal. Why is this not healing? You know, and that's how a lot of people get diagnosed nowadays.
Let's start from the basics. Now for a child growing up, and even for a baby, how old do the teeth start popping up?
So everybody is different, right? Some patients and some babies, believe it or not, are even born with a couple of teeth. Yeah, they're born with a couple of teeth.
So it's nothing weird that...
It's nothing weird. They're known as natal teeth. So some babies are born with teeth. It's not as common as being born without teeth, of course. Some people start getting teeth within the first month. Those are known as neonatal teeth. Once again, it's completely normal. But usually, the more common cases are that the kids are born without teeth, and then within the first year, they should have majority of the teeth within the mouth, and we're talking about the milk teeth. By the age of 3, all 20 of the milk teeth should essentially be in the mouth.
At age 3. So let's pause at age 3, and even for the young kids watching us right now, and even for their guardians and mothers, they're wondering, all right, my child is probably 2 years old, maybe not all the 20 teeth have come out, but so what should even the guardian be doing to ensure that these teeth are actually strong, and even for this child when they grow up, these teeth will continue to be strong? What are the do's and don'ts?
Okay, so I'll start from, once again, the age birth, like from birth, going forward, okay? So once the child is born, let's assume there's no teeth in the mouth, right? You still want to make sure that the mouth is being kept clean. So ideally, it's recommended to clean the gums using a damp cloth, right? This could be twice a day, or this could even be after every meals. What this does is it keeps the gums in the mouth clean and stimulates the gums as well, okay? And you know, for babies, it's also very soothing when the gums are massaged, right? So it helps, okay? Once the first tooth comes into the mouth, you now need to start brushing your baby's teeth, right? Now, because they are very young, I wouldn't recommend using toothpaste at that age, right? This is less than 1, right? So once the first tooth comes in the mouth, you can start brushing it very gently with a soft toothbrush and just with regular water, okay? Once the child reaches 1 year old, okay, you can now start taking him to visit the dentist, okay? And this doesn't necessarily have to be me, right? Normally at that age, I usually recommend, because they're so young, they're so, you know, fragile and sensitive to all these things, it's better if they see a pediatric specialist at that point, right? So there's quite a few pediatric specialist dentists in Kenya. So at that age, it's best to see those kind of dentists because they're specially trained to deal with children of that tender age, right? Once the child reaches around 1.5 years of age, right? At this point, I would now suggest to start using a children's toothpaste, right? And a children's toothpaste is slightly different from an adult's toothpaste because it contains a smaller concentration of fluoride, okay? You can use a really small amount, like a very small smidge, something like a rice grain, on the brush and brush it very gently for them. Remember, the number of teeth in the mouth will be increasing by then, right? By the time the child reaches 2.5 years of age, you can now start flossing the teeth of your child, only in the areas where the teeth are touching. If they're not touching, it's highly unlikely that food's gonna be getting stuck over there. So you don't need to floss those areas, but if you do, very well and good. Now I know at this point, you must be thinking, you know, oh, Dr. Muz, how am I gonna be putting that floss into my kid's teeth, right? You don't have to use the normal thread floss. There's these toothpick-like things with a tiny attached piece of floss. You can just pass that in and out very gently, okay? So from a young age, you're already training your baby to expect brushing and flossing. Once now all the teeth are out, we're reaching around the age of 4 years old, okay? The child has matured a little bit. You can now start slowly training your kid to start brushing on their own. And you know, they're smart enough to understand it. Of course, you have to supervise them while they're brushing, but ideally it should be for around 2 minutes or so.
So now what happens at 2 minutes? Because I think back then you'd be told, you know, the gums, the teeth, the tongue. What really happens in this 2 minutes?
So the 2 minutes just ensures that you're covering every section adequately. I usually like to recommend 30 seconds per quadrant. So we're looking at 30 seconds for the top right, 30 seconds for the bottom right, and likewise on the other side. There's no magic formula. You know, if you do 2 minutes on one side, you're not really doing anything. It just needs to be evenly distributed out, right? And you know, with kids nowadays, they're all in a hurry. They want to rush to the TV, they want to rush to the iPad. And so we really need to make sure, at least as parents, I'm not a parent yet, but as parents, you know, you need to make sure that your child is brushing adequately.
So now we had paused at around 3, and now for this...
At around 4, right?
Around 4 years.
Yeah.
So let's say at around now 10 years old, this is a grade 4 kid. And how many teeth should they have at around 10? At around
10, they would have most of their teeth, except for a few of the premolars and maybe the second molar.
It's around 28?
No, less than that. They will probably have around 18 to 20.
Oh, 18 to 20, all right. So 18 to 20, and mostly around this age, they'd want to use the teeth to do a number of, you know, stuff around there. They've probably seen the dad, or, you know, an older guardian opening the can of soda, and they're like, I also want to do this. Yes. You know, probably just tearing, you know, something. How advisable is this advisable at first?
It's definitely not advisable. You know, your teeth are strong, but do not abuse them. You know, if you have a car right now. If somebody told you your car's tires are amazing, you can even drive over nails. It doesn't mean you would every day go and test it out to drive over nails, right? And it's the same thing with teeth, because they're amazing until something happens. And we've seen a lot of cases where, you know, somebody was biting on ice or trying to open a soda bottle and then it just snaps. And then now they're rushed in. And it's unfortunate because, you know, no matter how advanced technology has become, nothing is as amazing as your natural teeth.
Now, because that's can be one of the problems. So what are the major and most common dental problems among children?
So dental fluorosis is quite predominant in Kenya due to the high fluoride content in our water. So I'm sure you guys have seen people that have brownish spots on their teeth, even as adults. And
we'll get to that broadly. Huh?
Yes. So should we leave some of the talk for later?
Now the fluorosis is the brownish bit of the teeth now. So is that, first of all, can you correct that?
It can be corrected, but we cannot change the color of the tooth itself, right? So what we do is add a layer of a white material on the front of the teeth to block out those stains. But unfortunately, those brown stains cannot be removed unless you trim the tooth itself. Yeah.
Right. Which are the common problems there?
With fluorosis, it depends on the level. If it's a very, very mild case of fluorosis, in fact, it's beneficial because the teeth become stronger than normal teeth, right? But that's in a very mild state of fluorosis. Of course, people still don't like how they look. So we've got the cosmetic concern there, right? Moving on to the moderate and severe forms of fluorosis, the teeth become a bit rough, you know, which can tend to attract plaque and food stuff to get stuck over there, which can result in a higher chance of getting tooth decay or caries.
All right. So again, now tooth decay is part of that.
Yes.
All right. So now, because I was holding this model here, I'd love to also take a look at, because now this is the gums. Well, definitely the teeth. I can remember, I think these are the canines.
Yes.
So it should be the canines, incisors, premolars, as well as the molars here. And you're definitely saying that taking 30 seconds in each quadrant. So even for them to understand in each bit. So 30 seconds here, 30 seconds here, 30 seconds here, 30 seconds here. So now, because we have this model, so that we can really understand, even as we talk about some of these common problems around someone's dental formula and the child's dental formula. I believe now you can walk us through how all that will be.
So ideally, you want to start brushing around the edges of the teeth first, okay? So if you're doing this side, brush around those edges with a soft bristle brush, and then you come onto the outside. And on the outside, follow a circular motion. And as you progress, you're overlapping the previous teeth that you have brushed on, right? Keep going all the way around, and then once again, come onto these edges, and now all that you're left with is the insides. Once again, circular motion. Of course, there are other techniques of brushing as well. Sometimes as dentists, we do change your brushing formula if it doesn't seem to be working for you. But majority of the time for kids, we recommend circular motion because it's easier to perform.
But now, and even the kids watching you right now, they're wondering, I've brushed my teeth, why do I need to brush whatever you're saying? Because you're touching the gums. Yeah. How should I be brushing the gums?
So we normally recommend to overlap the gums very slightly. And the reason being, there's always a small gap between the tooth and the gums. And if you're just brushing, you know how we were taught as kids, just side to side, you're missing the main area that food and plaque gets stuck, which is closer to the gums and slightly under the gums. But if you very slightly overlap the gums, you're targeting those areas. And if you're using a soft brush, the soft brush kind of goes into that area and gets the food out.
Mm-hmm. And now, before we take a short break, there's also now the tongue. Should you also be brushing just underneath the tongue and also above both the bottom and also the upper bit of the mouth?
I'm not going to recommend to brush the upper part of the mouth, the roof of the mouth, but definitely the tongue contains a lot of bacteria. So I brush my tongue myself, right? So definitely it is recommended to brush the tongue itself, but very gently. You know, these are all delicate tissues, and if you're really scrubbing it, you know, you're going to give yourself tiny cuts, and then you'll be discouraged from doing it in the future.
Right. Right, you're watching Body Garage with yours truly, Stanley Nyerungeta, standing in for Dr. Chubbs. We're taking a short break. When we come back, we'll be getting to understand more about the dental formula. And do right here have a whole machine. We'll be getting to understand what this whole machine even means and what it is called. Stick around.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na Nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus niko niwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee, soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you know, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
to finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
TV 47 and news truly Stanley Nyerungeta this evening discussing matters the dental health and particularly for children under the age of 18. You're watching us this morning and you're wondering, how do you really take care of your dental health and dental health from your teeth, your tongue, your gums? And as Dr. Moses was telling us before the break, it really extends even from your mouth. When you look at you, that is the first thing we'll probably be looking at. Probably your smile. So how do we have, a very good kind of smile and all that? But before that, even for the, the young children, they'll probably be addicted to, let's say, sugary stuff and all that, because I'd mentioned that we'd get to braces. But then even for some of this, how do we, well, there's the balance. You won't really deny the child some sugary stuff here and, once in a while. But how do you really balance so that this sugary foodstuffs will not be a deterrent to the dental health of a child?
So once again, let's start from a young age, right? In the first year of life, right, we've seen a lot of people give their kids pacifiers. Okay, now this is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something that you want to try and avoid. Of course, there are some health benefits because it shows that sucking on things for kids calms them, soothes them, makes them feel safe. Right? So in the first 1 or 2 years, it's okay. If your child needs a pacifier, give it to them, right? Just make sure you're using the right type of pacifier. So that means that the pacifier should have a shield big enough so that the patient cannot choke onto it. And please, please, please do not add incentives into that pacifier like honey or sugar, because now you're kind of destroying the teeth in the process, okay? As much as you can, try to avoid it if possible. Sometimes it's definitely not possible, but yeah, the pacifiers. Sometimes,
even as you enlighten us on this, what's the whole really purpose of pacifiers for kids really?
there is no purpose as such. Like I said, sucking on something makes the child feel safe. It makes the child feel protected. But there are other ways of doing that as well, like the parent holding the child, making them feel warm and comfortable, rocking the child, breastfeeding the child for that matter, right? But of course, sometimes the child just wants to suck on something, and that is the pacifier, right? So it's okay, but once it reaches the age of 2, you need to try and get that thing out of your baby's life, because now at that point it starts becoming a problem to the development of the jaws and the teeth, right? Some of the problems being an anterior open bite, which means that the front teeth start leaning forward and upwards, so that when the child will now bite in the future, the teeth will not touch, and then that's a formula for braces in the future. Yeah.
So now, that is where probably for braces, I mean, they were introduced as a child. First of all, at what age would you recommend the child to probably now have braces?
So ideally, braces is started at around the age of 10, but even much before this, at around the age of 6, 7, 8, there are multiple interceptions that we as dentists can do. There's special types of appliances that can prevent the child from having braces in the future. There's Invisalign nowadays. Invisalign first, in fact, starts from the age of 6. So instead of waiting until the child is 10, 12 years old, and by then they're already old enough to understand that, they don't look beautiful, there's the whole psychological effect, it's better to start early. And these can massively, massively help, because at that young and tender age, we use the growth to kind of facilitate the movements that we want to happen. We guide the jaws, we guide the teeth. So it's much better to start early.
So now, hypothetically, this kid started using braces as young as 10 years old.
Yes.
So at what age should they now have them off?
It depends from case to case on the severity of the malocclusion, which is the problem with the bite. Some cases can be done as quickly as 6 months, and others take up to 2.5 years. But more than that, it's very rare to have more than 2.5 to, I would say 3 years is the line that I usually draw, unless it's an extremely severe case. But on average, it's usually around 1 to 1.5 years.
So now it would be in rare cases to have even someone as past 18 still having the braces.
Yeah, it's not rare. Nowadays a lot of people are understanding what is wrong with their bites, and the demand for beauty and cosmetics is becoming so high that even adults nowadays want to straighten their teeth and beautify themselves, which is completely acceptable and okay. I have some patients that are even close to the age of 60 now that are undergoing not braces because they don't like the metallic look, but Invisalign, which is an invisible way to straighten the teeth. And it still works extremely well. So braces is not just for kids. And I know it's a common myth that people feel, I'm 35, how can I get braces? But you can, and the teeth still move the same way. Maybe we can't use the growth potential of the jaws to help move the teeth into the place that we want, but we can definitely still move the teeth to quite a great extent to straighten that smile.
Mm-hmm. And even talk about even straightening it. This is an age bracket where they are developing, so most of them, and most of the time they're in schools, and they're playing, and they find themselves, they probably fall down, they're playing, and they break a tooth. How does the whole repair work?
Yeah, so just a point to note, I usually recommend if any child is doing a contact sport, especially something rough, then you should be wearing a custom-made mouth guard which protects your teeth from all these kind of problems. But let's say something unfortunate happens. You fall down the stairs, you've chipped a tooth, right? The first thing that we do is take an x-ray to see how deep that chip or break is, right? And majority of the times it's pretty deep, and so we may need to do a root canal and then build up the tooth after that. If it's not very deep, we can just build it up with a material known as composite, which pretty much matches the shade of the tooth, but of course it's never going to be as strong as your natural teeth once were. So like I keep saying, in dentistry, prevention is always better than cure.
First of all, how long should you even stay with the added bit of that chipped tooth? And also, what's the danger of, for example, someone is probably 15, they're in high school, or maybe even 16 years old, and they chipped a tooth, but then they didn't seek medical attention, probably in a boarding school, and they saw, well, nothing really happened major, so I just leave it at that. Is there any major health effect that can happen to them?
This is a very general question, but I'll try to address it to the best of my abilities, right? If it's a very shallow chip, which is just in the outermost layer of the tooth, which is the enamel, chances are nothing is going to happen. If it's in the second layer of the tooth, which is the dentin is slightly soft. It's not as strong as the enamel. And so that dentin may wear out quickly, resulting in potential infections in the future. And if that chip has extended to the pulp in the first place, that tooth is going to die. And very soon after, there's high chances of that boy or girl will come to the dentist because there is a swelling that has developed over there, which requires a root canal to treat that situation.
Right. Right. So later on, we'll be getting to understand what this machine, definitely does, and that the whole notion of even getting into seeing the dentist, you're definitely frightened and all that. Walk us through what really happens when, even for children, the checkups. How important is it? Should I be seeing you as a child? Should you be seeing a dentist just when you have medical attention in your dental formula?
So it's usually recommended to visit a dentist every 6 months from a very young age. The reason being that people have this bad perception of dentists. That most people hate the dentist, right?
That's kind of sound.
Yeah, exactly. Most people hate the dentist. Most people are afraid of the dentist. But the reason for this is that in our Kenyan culture, at least, right, we don't visit dentists unless we have a problem. But that is wrong, because if you have pain, it's already too late, right? What is usually recommended is to start visiting the dentist early. Visit the dentist every 6 months. For kids, it's particularly important because even though we may not do anything, you bring a kid in here, we sit him down, we make some jokes, we take a look at the teeth, even if it's just 5 minutes to say hi, hello, the child will be very comfortable with coming here. So in the future, in case there's any problem, number one, we will detect it early, and number two, if we have a procedure to do, we will not have to fight with the kid because we will already have that rapport that we have built over time. We will already be friends. So it'll be very easy for me or any other dentist out there to work on that child.
Mm-hmm. There's someone watching you this evening and they're wondering, why 6 months?
Because 6 months is short enough that you can find something early, but long enough that the person doesn't feel like they have to keep coming back every now and then. Of course, there are some cases that we do tweak that, more so for adults or for kids that have a sweet tooth or very high chances of decay. We call them in every 3 to 4 months, but we usually tailor it based on that patient's needs. But on average, it's usually around 6 months.
So now what happens really during the whole checkup? Yeah. What are you really looking for during this checkup? They've come for the first, maybe this year started 2024. So they're seeing you for the first time in this year. What are you checking? And will it be different if it's for the first time for a patient and for a regular patient who has been coming for other times?
Yes. So the first time is usually a long consultation because we like to understand what that patient would like to get out of that visit. So we sit in my office, we do a nice long consultation, we take down the details, the medical history in case they've got any allergies. Once we've got all the information that we require, we bring the patient and we sit him or her down over here. We take a look at all the teeth one by one to see if there's any signs of decays, if there's any gum disease or anything suspicious that is going on. If there's anything suspicious going on, we then go ahead and take an X-ray of that area to see what's going on in that area and what kind of treatment is required. And we also take a look at how dirty the teeth are, right? If there's calculus, plaque that has accumulated in that area, we usually recommend a cleaning. That's the first visit, right? Now, me as your dentist, I have your teeth in order, everything is healthy, assuming you accept my treatment plan and we do everything. When I see you 6 months later, I already know that everything is in order, everything is ready. So at that point, we just do a quick check and potentially a quick cleaning, which is much more comfortable than the first one, because the first one is quite a deep one, especially for somebody who hasn't visited the dentist in years. And we get everything out just to make sure that things are looking good and healthy.
Right. A quick one before we take a short break. Are there some diseases from the dental formula that can be genetic?
Some diseases from the dental formula that can be genetic. Yes, some people's teeth have very dark, not dark. Yes, some people's teeth have very deep grooves in the teeth. You know, you've got those lines at the top of your teeth. Some people's teeth genetically are shaped to have deeper grooves, which can trap more food particles, more dirt in that area, and so you have a higher chance of getting caries or decay on those teeth. But if you are visiting your dentist regularly, there's this special treatment known as sealants, which we usually recommend for kids at around the age of 6 to 7, which can prevent that completely, because we make those grooves shallow.
Right. Right. So, well, I understand I'm not a child, but I think I'll have to be your patient for today. And I understand this is where the patient normally sits, and the sink there. What's this machine called as we take a short break?
This is just a normal dental unit.
A dental unit?
Yes.
Wow. We'll be getting into this, kids, after this short break. Stick around. You definitely don't gonna go far and just know how a dental unit looks like. In case you've never visited a dentist, usiogope. Usiogope. Stick around.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee, soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you know, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking,
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
to finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee, soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style.
Right, welcome back. This is Body Garage. We're coming to you from Jay's Dental, and we're just discussing matters of dental health in children. And children, I'll be your patient for the day, just to ensure that you understand how your teeth can actually be taken care of. And right here, I was told, is a dental unit.
Yes.
It looks a lot. First of all, it looks intimidating. If I was a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old and I was under this, I'd feel intimidated.
But if you're a 10-year-old coming here since you were 2, and every day you're okay, you're going happy, you're leaving with a balloon, you would love this place, right?
So that means there's actually a whole reason to go to the dentist.
Yes.
There's things that you can't see with the naked eye.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of psychological aspect when we're dealing with kids. Yeah.
Right. So now, because I'm here, so what happens? I think I'll have my phone away and be the patient for you and let you demonstrate.
Okay. So first and foremost, we're gonna just drape the patient. Going to bring you down. Just lean all the way back.
This is deja vu for me.
It's deja vu. Bringing back bad memories. Okay, you mind sliding all the way up? Lovely. Okay, and you can just put these glasses on because that light gets really bright sometimes. Yeah.
Now feels like I'm about to watch a whole
movie.
7D movie.
Okay, so we're just going to take a look and see what we're dealing with, yeah?
All right. So even as you continue, what's among kind of experiences you've had with kids as you take a look at the teeth?
So with kids, you have to be very careful about each and every step that you're doing, right? So let's say if you were a kid right now, I would show this to you and I would tell you, look, this is a mirror that I'm going to use to look inside your mouth. Okay. And then the second thing that we use is known as an explorer. Right? So this one looks a bit scary, right? Yeah. So what we do for kids is we show it to them on their hand. So give me your hand, right? And we show them that in case there's any food or dirt and we want to look, we're just going to wipe it off like that. So you see, now they get comfortable, right? Because they know exactly what is going to happen rather than being in suspense. And that way they get a bit more comfortable and we can do a nice checkup for them that way.
I can actually feel the burning sensation of the light.
Yeah, it's pretty bright, isn't it? Okay, open wide. So we're just checking to see if there's any cavities or decay on the teeth or anything wrong with the gums, any crowding, which you have slightly. I'll explain that to you in a bit. Okay, I can see you've got wisdom teeth, and your wisdom teeth are all straight and perfect. So congratulations on that. Okay, open wide. Yeah, so your teeth are pretty healthy. Okay, you have a little bit of crowding, right, on the lower front ones, and slightly on the upper front ones as well. I can also see you've got a tiny chip over here. You know, yours is in the enamel, so if you leave it long term, I don't think it'll bring any issues. But you know, it's always nicer to fix it for aesthetic purposes, right? So this is how we do the check essentially, and you know, we explain everything in detail to the patients, right? We also make it very clear what treatments are elective and what treatments are very, very essential at the time, right? So just for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to take an X-ray of your upper right teeth, right? Just so we can show the viewers what an X-ray, what the procedure is like for an X-ray. Okay.
And even so, even before the X-ray, so gingivitis.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure we hadn't really dived into gingivitis a little bit. Tell us more about gingivitis, what it means for children. Probably, having something very hot, they have the whole sensation in the mouth. What does it mean?
So gingivitis is, to put it simply, it's inflammation or irritation of the gums, right? That is usually caused by plaque accumulation and calculus accumulation, which is basically hardened plaque. What that does is, because there's a lot of bacteria over there, and when it stays there for prolonged periods of time, it irritates the gums, which results in either the gums swelling up, becoming a bit red, bleeding when you brush, right? All these sorts of things. But all of that is very simply treated by just doing a thorough dental cleaning at your dentist's office. Yeah.
All right. Kids, I hope you're listening to this. Visit your dentist. So now, into the X-ray.
Yes. So now we're going to take an X-ray just for demonstration purposes.
Do I need this? For
no, you can take that off. No problem. How the X-ray works, this is a sensor. This is a digital X-ray machine. So what happens is, I'm going to hold this next to your tooth, and then it's literally just like taking a photo. This is the X-ray machine that will kind of shoot the X-rays onto the sensor, and we get the image on the computer. Okay?
Right.
Okay, just lean back, open wide. There we go. Expose. There we go. So if you can look here, that's your X-ray. For your upper right teeth. So that's your premolar. That's your first molar, which is what I was aiming for. And as we can see, everything looks nice and healthy. So you're doing a pretty good job with your teeth. Congratulations.
So how many times do you have to do the X-ray?
We usually just do the X-ray as and when required.
No, like the frequency, because right now you've done for the upper.
Yeah.
But do you have to do for each quadrant?
Not necessarily.
How does that happen?
Not necessarily. Sometimes when we see someone has a high chance of caries, we do recommend full mouth X-rays where we can see all the teeth. There's another technique as well called bite wings, where we ask you to bite on something and then we can see half of the upper and half of the lower. But I usually don't take like X-rays unnecessarily, just as and when needed, when we see something suspicious.
Right. Now there's something you told me earlier, crowding, is it?
Crowding, yes.
And it's been bugging my mind all that time.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is crowding in my mouth?
Yeah.
What is that?
So crowding is when all your teeth do not fit comfortably within your jaw. So if you look at your lower teeth, you will see some are forward, some are back, some are up, and some are down. Reason being, there is not enough space, right? So how do we correct that? Of course, we can use either Invisalign or braces to correct that, or any form of clear aligners, to be honest, right? And what we do is we expand the jaw ever so slightly to create space and make everything fit into that area. And it really helps in cleanliness of the teeth, because you will notice less food is getting stuck in between those areas. And it helps to the overall health and aesthetics as well, right? This situation that you have of crowding, right now you are very young, so you won't see any problems. But in the future, maybe 15, 20 years later, it gradually gets worse over time. So maybe it's not really bothering you right now, but it will bother you later on, potentially. And it's always best to get treated when you are still young.
All right. Now, even because we really now talk about children, for some of these factors, because we're talking about the things that you can't really see with the naked eye, and this included, what other red flags, quote unquote, can you actually not see with the naked eye when you're looking at a child's dental formula inside the mouth, that you'll actually have to see when you have all this machines?
Yeah, so number one, definitely interproximal decay, which means decay in between the two teeth, right? Sometimes, you know, a tooth looks perfectly fine from on top, but when we take an X-ray, it's a disaster inside there because there's a big hole, and in fact, if that patient hadn't come in at the time, they would have probably come in a couple months later with the tooth broken in the hand, saying, you know, doc, my tooth has broken. But in reality, that decay was already there, forming underneath the tooth, right? So that's one big thing that we find coincidentally. Other times we also have kids come in and they feel like everything is completely normal, but you know, the eruption of the teeth is not as it should be. Sometimes, you know, the gums are too thick. So a tooth that was actually supposed to come out at 6 years of age hasn't come out until maybe 8.5. And at that point, we need to intervene because, you know, chances are that tooth will never erupt unless something is done.
Yeah. Well, now, doctor, the kids watching, they're curious. They've probably seen other kids at school have the pink gums. So maybe them they have the, you know, a darker shade of gums. Is that okay?
Yeah, that is completely normal. It's just genetic. That is just the color of the pigment that your body produces. So some people have extremely dark gums. Some people have, you know, more of a dark pink. Some people have more of a light pink. But it's nothing to worry about. It's, you know, just simply nature.
But then now, does it get to a point where you probably, as a child, you're looking at your gums and you feel, no, I'd really have to see the dentist because of how my gums look like or maybe are feeling like?
That happens sometimes, but more so in adults than kids. Because sometimes they feel like the pigmentation has become too dark and they're not comfortable with it, especially in someone with a gummy smile. For that, there are special depigmenting procedures that are usually done. Right? It's either done by laser or by using the drill that, you know, most people hate. But it's a very minor procedure that can get rid of that pigmentation, but it's a totally elective procedure. Yeah.
You've mentioned the drill, and I'm just reminded that we're having a whole dental unit here. We've only taken a look at quite a few of what this whole unit does. Yeah. We can continue with the demonstrations and see if now the kids would be on this yes, this particular unit where I am right now. What will be happening?
As you've seen, this is a light. It's got a sensor, so we can turn it on and off without touching it. Okay, that over there is a sink for you to spit into. There's a glass over there with some mouthwash.
I think you can just. So what is in here?
That's just a mouthwash tablet with water. Yeah.
Why the color?
The tablets come in different colors for kids. Yeah.
I think I really now have to ask. Being here, I really have to ask you the questions that kids would probably be very curious to be asking. Okay.
Of course.
All right.
It comes in different flavors as well and different colors. Yeah.
What's the purpose of it when you talk about mouthwash?
To be honest, it's just more of a refreshing feeling, right? We can put water as well, which does the same thing. But you know, when you go to the dentist, you want to feel a bit different. Yeah. So it's more of just a refreshing feeling, and you know, it looks nice and feels nice for the patient.
All right, there we have it. And talk about mouthwash. There's also the kind of mouthwash you can buy and just have at home. A number of houses have that. Yeah. For the kids, maybe even for the guardians, when they're buying, let's say, mouthwash, how different should it be for the kids?
So I usually don't prescribe mouthwash on a daily basis, right? Some dentists might disagree with me on this, but I feel like it's not necessary and it's quite expensive as well. I feel like everyone is much better off just brushing twice a day and flossing and keeping good oral hygiene, especially not for kids, right? And there are some times when we do a small gum surgery or those kind of procedures where we do prescribe mouthwash, but it's very specific and not for longer than 2 weeks. Yeah.
You'd mentioned brushing twice a day, which again we are reminded, and even reminding the kids. What intervals should that be happening? In the morning, the evening?
So I usually recommend in the morning when you wake up, brush your teeth. I know a lot of dentists prescribe to brush after breakfast. I'm still a firm believer of brushing before breakfast and the last thing you do before you sleep at night. Yeah.
Right.
For some people, they also find that it helps You know, if they don't want to have snacks or junk after dinner. So once you've had your dinner, wait for around 30 to 40 minutes, brush your teeth, and then, you know, the chapter is closed, because now you know mentally you can't eat anything after that.
So we're in the process of listing some of this, what happens here. You can talk us through what this is, and then you can give us your final thoughts, because we are out of time.
Yeah. So this is a 3-way syringe. It just literally blows air, and the other button is going to blow water, but I'm not going to do it. Okay. This one is a slow speed handpiece. So we mostly use this for polishing teeth, right? Polishing a filling or polishing the teeth after a clean. This one is blue light, right? It's known as a curing light. So once we do a filling, especially composite, those ones set only when exposed to blue light. So this is what we use. This is our scaler, right? So there are special tips that come. We attach it onto the scaler, and it vibrates at ultrasonic speed, which can now clean the teeth. And last but not least, this is the most dreaded drill.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah. So we add the attachments here, which are known as burrs, and you know, when I step on the foot pedal, it starts rotating at an extremely fast speed.
Can we have that as the last demo?
Yeah, of course.
Do I have to be scared?
So when I step on this, there we go. You see there's a tiny light that switches on and water is splashed. So the water prevents the tooth from overheating as we are working, as we are drilling. Yeah.
Right.
And that's how it works.
Thank you, Dr. You can give us your final thoughts. How can kids really take care of the dental formula, and even advice for the guardians? They're raising kids, how can they be part of this conversation?
Don't think about all the complicated things. Brush twice a day, floss your teeth, and see your dentist every 6 months. And that way you will get specialized needs tailored to you.
Right. Thank you very much. This has been the Body Garage right here from Jay's